Estate Excellence Podcast with your host, Tracy Hayes. Another best of the best on the show today. She hails from Birmingham, Alabama, but has lived in Jacksonville for the last 36 years. She has degrees in business management and mass communications from the University of Florida, oddly. However, she sticks with winners when it comes to football and is an avid University of Alabama fan. We are going to learn how she started in real estate, part-time, but quickly had to go all in. She has had her license for 15 years, and in 2016 opened her own brokerage, REMI Realty. We are a faith-based organization with a direct focus on making sure our customers receive the finest service for all their real estate needs. DT scores TDs for REMI Realty. Let's welcome the owner-broker of REMI Realty, the lovely and talented Dunia Taylor.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. Like we talked pre-show, I was limited to my investigation, but we will get stuff out of you. There wasn't a lot of, but there was some personal statements on your social media, like Alabama and so forth.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it a family tradition to be Crimson Tide?
It is. We were all born there. I have two sisters and a brother, and we definitely have Bama in our blood.
Something tells me they went to the University of Alabama and you didn't.
They did not.
No, they did not. Okay.
They did not. We all went to school here. So we moved here when I was about 1.5 years old. So
oh, okay.
We've been in Florida for 36 years.
Interesting. There is a lot of, just knowing the kids graduating right now, and there's a lot of kids going to Alabama though now.
Yeah, it's a great school. Yeah. It really is a great school. I would have went there if I had a scholarship at basically forced me to stay in the state of Florida, which was fine. Yeah. And UF had a great business school, so I decided to go there.
Well, if you're going to live in Jacksonville, hopefully that pays off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
One of my greatest circles of influence is my alumni group, and we stay tight and have events, and it's just another bonding thing.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
No matter what year you graduated.
Absolutely.
I just a surreal moment when I'm talking to guys that graduated 30 years before me. I find it just like so. And then even the young guys now, because I'm like in between. I'm going to be going to my 30th reunion, but I'm talking and mixing and mingles with guys that have graduated here in the last 5-10 years. So
it's definitely a great conversation starter. Yeah.
You treaded over the same turf. That you've been to the same thing. Whatever reason you chose to go to Gainesville and so forth is a bond in a way. So
absolutely.
Well, you just mentioned you moved to Jacksonville when you were 1.5. Your parents get transferred or something, or just chose to get up and go?
Well, my father passed away, and my mom's side of the family was in Florida, so she needed help with all of us young kids. Mm-hmm. 4 of us, and we're all pretty strong-headed and stubborn, but it's turned out to be great for all of us.
So your family still, you just mentioned a brother and sister.
Yep, I have 2 sisters and a brother. We're all here. I actually have one sister that lives in Gainesville with her husband and family, and the rest of us are still here in Jacksonville. And then my dad's side of the family is basically all in Birmingham still.
So just a question I just thought of while you were just talking about it. How has that made you feel? Because, you were doing some corporate America stuff, mm-hmm. and then you got into real estate, but then to even make that leap in there, to know that you have the support system close by.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely helps, though. I feel like my business has grown, and we're all, we all have great jobs. We all went to college. My sisters and brother, but most of my referrals come from my family. Yeah. We have a really big family, and having that support close by, and they're definitely my number one supporters. They're the first ones to share and like all of my posts, and it's a huge deal for me. I'm very appreciative.
It's so important, whether it's friends or, like you said, people you like and trust, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And to be your biggest cheerleaders means so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much. And I imagine, that month you worked really hard to get, that 1 or 2 deals from outside that circle. All of a sudden someone calls up and says, hey, your sister referred me over, and you're like, whew, man, does that feel good?
We're all in different industries too. So, you need that referral business. 2 of them work in healthcare, and, nurses are the top ones that want to buy homes and everything. So it definitely helps a lot.
So, because I've really been harping on Circle of Influence the last few weeks, of course, training with the loan officers that you just met with there, and reaching out and letting everyone know, their family, friends, hey, this is what I do. Um, when you first started, it may be a little bit different to you, but I'm sure 15 years you've seen others have different. I had George Pottenkelman from Christina Welch's team mention that he didn't attack his circle of influences early. He felt if he went right at him up front, his business would have taken a few notches faster. But he waited and he played the system that they were working with, and it wasn't until a few years into the business that he really started reaching out to his friends and family.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just all depends too on how you start the industry as well. So I started it part-time. So I really didn't have a whole lot of marketing. I didn't have a Facebook at the time that I started real estate. So there was really no way for me to market other than print ads, and not a lot of people.
Or send everybody your wedding list. Start sending cards, right?
I mean, that would have worked out. That's not a bad idea. But yeah, so it really just depends. If I was in real estate full time and all I wanted to do was real estate and push it through, then I probably would have hit a bunch of different audiences as well. But
so if you were starting today. Just a tip, obviously, Facebook wasn't as prevalent, or even was it? I don't even know when it came.
It was
15 years ago, you weren't, wasn't. But obviously, with the social media that we have today, what would be like one thing you would definitely do differently today than what you had, because the tools you didn't have 15 years ago?
So, I mean, definitely. I mean, I still would have hit my direct audience, because I find that, we talked about this earlier this morning, that relationships are most important to everybody, especially when they're making such a big purchase. They want to make sure that they are with somebody that they can trust, absolutely. So just building that awareness to your friends and family, and staying in your bubble, that'll get you to referrals that you don't know. That'll get you that outside referral system.
So someone coming in the business today, applying, there's a lot of knowledge out there. There's a lot of smart people like Dunia that can really shorten your learning gap down, and really actually, if you do the things correctly and attack that circle of influence, leveraging social media and the other things that you can do, get that circle of influence. Those people already like and trust you.
Absolutely. And it really just depends on your audience and how to reach them. So I have a lot of younger audience. They're on social media, but I just recently opened an office in Amelia Island. That's a totally different audience. Those are vacationers. Those are people that are sitting on the beach, sitting in restaurants, walking up and down. It's a dog-friendly community, so, we do our ads based off of
You put puppies in the window of the store?
So my puppy, his name is Remy, so we put him a lot on there. But they're reading print ads,
right.
So depending on where you are and who you want to market to, that depends on if you use social media or print ads or anything like that.
Oh, interesting. So your initial marketing presence is to make some presence with the local businesses that these people are visiting, who may be thinking of going, it would be interesting to have a condo here or whatever.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
We've met more people from out of town over in that area than anything else. So that led to our new marketing plan of doing print ads, because that's what they're doing. They're out there reading papers.
I have this question in here because you say, well, you went to University of Florida, but you're a Crimson Tide fan.
I am.
But you did mention faith-based organization.
I am.
Are you a Tim Tebow fan? Do you follow Tim?
So I went to school with Tim.
Okay.
He was there when I was when I was in college there. I do follow him, mainly because he actually grew up right around the corner from where I live on the west side. It's kind of west of the west side of Jacksonville. So I do like Tim Tebow. I follow him and his wife and all that kind of stuff. But football,
he does some. He had posted yesterday with him and his dad on LinkedIn, and actually I did subscribe to his text message. He'll send some motivational thing out and so forth.
He's really good about that. Him and his wife.
Yeah, they are really dedicated people that are trying to make changes in areas. To follow Tim Tebow. I don't know who the Florida State fans hate him, but then they do have some respect for him for what he's doing
absolutely.
Today. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So you go and take marketing. What is your vision at University of Florida? What you wanted to do?
I really didn't have a vision, to be honest with you. I actually wanted to go to school for psychology when I first started.
I should have been a psychology major. Go ahead.
When I first started. But then I found out how much school that was, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that much. So I took a couple of business classes and marketing classes at Florida, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun.
A lot of psychology involved.
It kind of goes hand in hand with each other. So So I started taking more marketing classes, and I did the mass communications because that was a big thing at the time for sure. And it's helped me a lot. I learned more at the University of Florida than I did anywhere else for marketing. I mean, it was really a great education. And so when I graduated a little bit early because I went through summer instead of taking the summer off. And so I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I actually started working at a local real estate company doing their press releases and marketing flyers.
Oh, okay.
And that's how I got into real estate.
She wasn't on LinkedIn, so I didn't know this. Go on.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I can do this. And
Right.
I saved my money while I was in college. I had scholarships, but I worked a little bit as well. So when I moved back, I wanted to buy my first house. So, I picked one of the agents there that I was working with, and she didn't have that relationship, that communication with me. I mean, it was like a totally different market than it was 2009. And I was like, wow, I think I can just do this myself. So I went and did the week-long course, got my real estate license, sold my first house to myself.
Okay.
And then I still have that home. It's a great investment property for me. Because, I bought it, 2009, 10. That was a great time to purchase at the time.
Yep.
So I bought that house, and then I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. So that's what led me into doing real estate part-time. And then I got a job at a local ad agency, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely. That was probably my favorite job I've had.
So how long were you doing the part-time?
Not long. I'd say probably, part-time real estate?
Part-time real estate and still working a full-time job.
I did it probably about 8-9 years.
Oh, wow.
I did it for a while. Yep. I went to work at an ad agency, and then I worked at a local
So I don't know
hospital.
where so I actually said you quickly, went all in, but actually I don't know where I saw that. I actually typed that in my intro, so I'm actually going to correct that. So 8 or 9 years part-time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. So I was doing, I worked at the ad agency, then I went to corporate marketing at a local hospital, and then I switched and went to corporate marketing at a local community college here in Jacksonville.
So on out, through 8 or 9 years, how many deals are you doing? How busy are you? And, obviously because you're working full time.
I was probably doing, not many, I would say probably 6 or 7 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Not many at all. It was, I was by myself. I was young, had my first house, worked in corporate America.
Right. Letting your family knew you were an agent.
Yeah.
And imagine, probably a good percentage, 25% of the deals just came from family, just saying,
absolutely.
oh, my sister's,
Yeah. And
Okay.
it was mainly just vacation money for me at the time. And then when I decided to do it full time, that's when I started marketing, and then I was closing 5 or 6 a month.
So that's interesting. So my question is, over that 8 or 9 years and having the marketing background that you did, you probably saw a lot of things that worked and a lot of things that didn't work.
Exactly.
What are expand on that for me a little bit?
So that's a big thing, and that's what I teach my agents. Do your marketing now. Figure out what works. Let's sit down. Let's make a marketing plan. Let's work through that marketing plan. Give it a few months. Let's see if it's working. If it's not, then obviously that's not the marketing plan for you. So we turn around, we shift gears, and figure out what does work. And that's what I do every day in my life. So when I worked corporate marketing, it was all about referrals. Like
Right.
we talked about. I had no social media at the time. None. I think Instagram was starting to get big at the time. When I opened REMI Realty and decided to go full time, I opened up a Facebook page, and that literally, people were like, oh, I forgot you did real estate. So just hearing that helps me teach my agents, remind people.
Right. What are some things you see, maybe, I don't want to say necessarily today, but I mean, I think anyone who starts a small business, which is really what you're doing, you become a real estate agent. You are your own business. You may be under some brokerage, but you are you, and you have to do your marketing plan that obviously works for you.
Absolutely.
There's some people that obviously that really 10x the social media, and they say they're getting deals off. They're creating relationships. I know just from my content, just from the shooting a couple podcasts a week and the content that spins off of it, people who know, like, and trust me, I am in front of them every day of the week, and they're seeing me, talking about real estate and so forth. So they see me all the time. And I tell people, since I've started the podcast, I've gotten, it's just over a year and a couple of weeks, I've gotten more of my circles of influence referrals than ever in the previous 16 years.
Yeah, absolutely. You work it through and you figure out what works and what builds your business and what doesn't, and then that's what you expand on.
So one of the terms themes that I get from top agents like yourself is consistency. Mm-hmm. You mentioned you try a marketing plan and you need to try it. What do you think is a reasonable, and I assume this might be based on what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
But what is a reasonable minimum amount of time you got to try a marketing concept before you can possibly see some results?
I would say at least 3 months. You definitely need to make sure you're getting out there. It might take somebody 30 days to really decide that they want to buy a house or
mm-hmm.
sell a house. And it's not necessarily about constantly reminding people, hey, I'm a real estate agent. Hey, I'm a real estate agent. But slipping in little cues here and there, that definitely helps. So mm-hmm. every time I'm posting a picture, there's a reason I'm posting that specific picture. There's like a koozie in the background or a pin in the background. There's something just to remind somebody, hey,
right,
she does real estate still. Everybody knows that's what I do.
I have a seminar because I was on my community development district CDD for 11 years, uh-huh. and I put together a little 2-hour seminar yep. that I offer anyone to come out there. But the main theme of that CDD is lifestyle. Yep. So whether you're out on the boat uh-huh. or you're eating at eating at a restaurant or whatever, if you had a great take a picture with the sign in the background, say, oh man, we just had a great meal at whatever, or you're out at the beach, hey, we're enjoying the Florida lifestyle. Yep. You have to throw some of those things in there.
You do, and people want to feel comfortable with you. They want to relate to you. Right. So we're big on family at our brokerage, and we're big on animals. We love dogs. We love dogs. So, my agents joke with me. They're like, your dogs have no idea they're actually dogs.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm like, yeah, but, people relate to that, especially where our new office is. They're very dog friendly. We have treats and dog bowls at the front door of our office in Amelia.
Another, we tipped down a little bit early, just a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. Going to University of Florida and living in Jacksonville. Well, there's a lot of University of Florida alumni here. Mm-hmm. You treaded over the same turf. Whether you were there at the same time, it doesn't matter, right? Yep. You went to the same buildings, you went to the same yep. classrooms and all that type of stuff. You're dog lovers. Obviously, that's actually very popular.
It is.
But even if you're a cat lover, if you like people bond. Oh, you like cats too? Oh, you like dogs too? Oh, you have that kind of dog. Yeah. Oh, I love you. Yeah. That they bond with that stuff because you have similar interests.
And that's true. And a recent story about that is I just bought my niece a new puppy from a breeder about 2.5 hours south of Jacksonville. And now we're friends on Facebook. Well, she contacted me and she's interested in purchasing a house. So she asked if I could do it there. And I was like, I'm licensed in the whole state of Florida.
There you go. There you go. So at least get the referral if you don't want to travel down there. But certainly, yeah.
It's a great area. I'd definitely go there.
You had a like interest, that puppy, right? Yep. That brought you together, and you never know. I always tell people, you never know what's under the rock.
You don't.
And letting someone know, as I'm sure this person, a lot of the breeders want to know who's buying their dogs too, right? Oh, yeah. So they looked you up, or you probably maybe even talked or gave her your card or something, but you let her know you're in the business, and who's the first person she's going to call. You just did business with them.
Yep.
And bought a breed that she's in love with. Most breeders don't breed something they don't like, right?
Yeah. There's always a way for real estate to come up in a conversation.
Yes.
That's what I tell my agents. If you want to get yourself out there, find a way in the conversation to bring up real
Well, I think that tips a little bit. We were talking earlier in the sales meeting about the market conditions, and everybody needs a house to live in.
They do.
And Florida's in demand because, it doesn't snow here, and amongst a lot of other things that we can do. And I was talking to Cole Slate on Thursday, and we were talking about people have found our hidden gem here in Jacksonville. Yeah. And that is all the different things that you can do because the way our geographics are. We have the river. If you're a boater, you can boat on the river, you can boat on the intercoastal, or if you want to go offshore, you can do that. There's so many different things to do, and you need to share that with others, and they will connect with you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We did a lot of that with our boating.
All right, so let's look back. I want you to answer this question in pre-2016.
Okay.
And then after 2016.
Okay.
What mistakes have you made?
Mistakes. Okay. So which I call failing forward.
They
Absolutely.
were learning lessons.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So when I first started, I was doing it part-time, and I wasn't as dedicated as I should have been. And not just in promoting myself and doing all that kind of stuff. It was the education piece that I didn't know at the time was so important. So I was over there being, basically just a paper pusher, making sure everything was correct, but not actually understanding everything properly. And since I worked it's a lot different nowadays with different brokers and everything, but since I did it part-time, the brokers that I worked for weren't as invested in me, and they didn't, they put as much investment in me as I did the business,
right?
Essentially,
yeah.
So it was no fault to them; it was my fault.
You get in what you get in what you put in.
Exactly.
You get out what you put in, right?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. And so that was a big piece. So I decided, hey, I need to learn a lot more. So I started doing those classes with NEFAR. I started just researching things, looking online, making sure I knew every single line of the contract, because I told myself, if I ever do open my brokerage, my agents are going to be fully compliant. They're going to understand the contracts. They're going to know everything on that contract, because I didn't have that training when I first started. I had to learn myself. I was calling legal hotline, trying to figure things out myself, and doing everything. And now I know the contract like the back of my hand.
So the mistake was you didn't put forth the energy into the education.
Exactly.
And in this particular situation, if there's some one thing they need to learn right away, would be the contract.
Absolutely.
The first thing, because you come out of that class, you come out of the training, they're talking about when you need to renew your license and stuff like that on the test. I mean, how much it's going to cost, which, like, by the time you renew, it's going to cost more anyway. Anyway, so, but if you're going to take any one course first, get in there and dig into the contract.
Absolutely. And I feel like the more you know, the more confident you are in the business.
Interesting.
Even
though it's what we find here in this area is there's like several different contracts that you may run across, depending on whether you're in St. Johns County, Flagler,
there are different
NEFAR's got theirs, and there's different ones, and those things are on different pages. They're worded slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't understand that, but you know what? After our sales meeting this morning, I'm going to contact NEFAR, and I'm going to find out. I'm going to get in the next class on contracts.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to know. I mean, like I said, if you understand the contracts, you're already ahead of everybody else in the industry, because there's a lot of people who don't understand it. They don't put the time in to actually read them and understand what this means, and all that kind of stuff. And get with attorneys. There's so many closing attorneys out here
that want to help.
They
you. Want your business, but that's why they're willing to help.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
How to work, because I think one thing we run into over the years from the loan officer side, there's a repair needed or negotiated over. It's not going to stop the house from closing. It's something the buyers want to be fixed, painted, whatever.
Absolutely.
Instead of actually doing the repair, they're just going to exchange money. They're going to get some seller concessions, and they want to write in there, this is for. No, I don't want to know what it's for. Just say they're giving them $500, whatever. It doesn't, we're not going to ask why.
Yep.
That's the contract. They know why.
The less information is better.
Less information on that is better. Last thing you want is an underwriter digging in, and why do we need to do this repair?
Yeah.
You don't need, even though they probably won't even ask, but the chances are there might be something. Don't need the details.
Somebody will look at it.
How much is the money? And here, we're going to give them so much concessions. Great. Okay. Everyone's happy. Yep. Let's proceed. So that was pre-16. Mm-hmm. So now you've been in leadership, right? You opened your own place.
Yep.
I assume it was just you in the beginning, or did you have? It was just you solo. Now you have, how many agents are you working with?
I have 16 agents.
16 agents that you're working with.
Yep.
What mistakes have you made in the last 6 years? Or a mistake. We'll just say a mistake. We know, hopefully you haven't made many, but you made enough to learn and get better. So what's a one mistake that you could say that, you could go back and say, yeah, I learned for that one?
Well, and it goes back to the whole relationships with your agents and having quality agents over quantity of agents. So I learned that not just to hire everybody that comes on board with me, because that causes more work for me. Then I'm failing in other areas. Mm-hmm. I'm doing my own deals. I have my own goals. We're a family at our brokerage, but we're very competitive on sales volume, on who can get the highest sales volume, and they can't beat me. But but they they're very competitive in that. And if I'm not giving them the education and the time that they need in order for them to better themselves, then we're all going to fail in the industry. So I feel like just being there for them has been huge for us.
So when you are someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to join your brokerage," or maybe you're just someone crosses in front of you, like, oh, maybe that person might be good on the team. What are some things that you're looking for? What do you ask? Because it sounds like if your guys are very competitive in a healthy way, the great thing is if somebody did way out there and did great, but if that bottom person is still meeting their goals at the end because they were chasing the guy up front. I always tell the story. I never was a runner, but when I went to the Citadel, the military college of South Carolina, we had to take physical fitness tests every semester. So I would find the guys that could run like the wind, and I would tell them, I'd challenge them, and I would actually just try to stay within sight distance of them, because that was just pushing me to know that I could pass the minimums, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're chasing that person at the top, doing the things at the person at the top, and you're reaching your goal, you're only going to continue to grow every month after month after month. So there's a positive thing to that. So what do you look for to find someone who's got that same kind of, that kind of drive and competitiveness?
So I'm very clear in the beginning, and I just basically tell them, I interview the agent, and typically the people that come to REMI Realty, somebody knows in the brokerage. They're a referral from family or church or friends, or they're a referral from somebody. So typically we know them, and if we just have a good vibe and I can see that they're dedicated and they're motivated, that's the biggest thing. A lot of people think real estate's super easy, but if you're not motivated to want to do more, then if you're meeting your goals, that's great, but you need to go past those. You need to have higher goals. If you're meeting your goals every time, make them higher. Yeah. Push through anymore. Yeah. And it's definitely helped all my agents. I mean, more of them come to the trainings now because we do a lot of them on Zoom. They ask more questions. They want to learn. They're like hungry for it. Right. And that's what I like. That's what I look for in an agent. I want somebody that wants to grow.
I'm sure some of your people will watch this if they're not already watching already. One of the common themes, and there's three real strong ones. One was consistency, we talked about earlier, in your marketing things, whatever you're doing, whether it's you're consistent cold calling, you're consistent posting social media, videos, whatever those things, consistent. Just keep doing them. Some take longer than 90 days though. Okay. Some, I will tell you, the podcast things have changed for me because people are watching. Your friends and family are watching what you're doing, and some of them won't do business with you right away. Yeah. Oh, you're still doing that? Yeah. Oh, okay. You've been doing it 15 years now? Okay, I can do a deal with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I've had people that have never liked a post, never shared posts. I honestly forgot we were friends on Facebook, and they've come to me and they've wanted to buy houses.
They've been secretly watching you.
They're seeing it. Yep. So, and that's why I tell people, don't just say, oh man, only 2 people like that post. It doesn't matter. 500 people could have seen it. Right. Just keep pushing through. Just keep wanting that drive to do better.
So the other theme, what I was getting to there is education.
Oh yeah.
It is. If you want to go back, if you've not listened to any other podcasts but this one, go back and either listen to them all. I'd love for you to do that. Like and share and make comments. But if you go back and listen, education is in every one of those of the top agents that have been on the show. Yep. They're going to be at the Jax Real Producers event tomorrow. I guarantee you go up to them. Education. I'm just somewhat Stevie Hahn's popping in front of my head. She went out and started having coffees with home inspectors and loan officers. Yep. She wanted to learn everything as a young person about the industry that she could and take in all the knowledge she can. Because would you agree that knowledge becomes confidence?
It really does. And there, you think you know everything, but you don't. I'm still learning as I go. Every time
market changes,
it changes so much, and guidelines change. Everything changes, so you have to just stay on top of it. And you might know everything right now, but 6 months down the road, everything could be totally different. Contracts change. The minute NEFAR puts out, NEFAR basically, when they put out contract changes, we're on a Zoom call that night going over them, so my agents know, hey, this has changed. Y'all need to pay attention to this.
I mean, just roughly a year and a half or so that we the multiple offers coming in.
Oh yeah.
And I've heard some groans from agents, especially when they have the selling agent who is that person who's not dedicated and driven, or kind of some of the people we were talking about in the sales meeting, and all of a sudden they got 20 offers and they're overwhelmed. Well, if you were educating yourself on the business, or you were with a broker
Yep.
who was keeping you up to date, you would have known you were going to have 2025 offers.
Absolutely.
And you would know how you want to filter them out and which one
Yeah.
you want to present to your buyer.
Absolutely.
Seller.
We have a lot of processes at our brokerage. I try to make life easy for them, but in a good way. So, we have spreadsheets that, okay, you got multiple offers, plug these in, and that way it's easier for you to go over it with the customer. The highest offer is not necessarily the best offer. You have to look at everything, to make sure you're making the most educated decisions to tell your customer, hey, look, this offer has this, this, and this. This one has this, this, and this. And then they can make a decision based off of all the information and not just purchase price.
And that's the value that you add.
Absolutely.
One of the many values you add to your people. But if you're sitting here and the agents are told to go out and talk to several brokers to figure out which one fits them.
Yep.
One of the value, you have to interview the broker and say, what are you going to help me? Well, one of the examples could be just that.
Yep,
this is something I do for my agents. When the market went this way and we knew we were going to get 15, 20 plus offers, we needed to be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to foreshadow what's coming on. Of course, you're in touch because I would imagine one of the other themes is surrounding yourself by other successful agents.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you share with us some of the people that have helped you, or that you confide in, or you call sometimes to say, man, what is up with
Yeah. Well, over the years, I've been doing it for a long time. I have most of my friends are real estate agents.
Right.
It's just excuse me, it's just how it goes. They're mostly real estate agents, and they all work for different brokerages. I have some of my best friends that work at Exit. I worked at Exit briefly years ago, and we all have been in it for quite some time. So we'll call each other and say, hey, what's going on with this? Like, am I crazy, or is this crazy? And then
exactly.
It's great to have that so that you can bounce off and not have any animosity in the business. We all have a lot of the same friends too. And if somebody is trying to sell with me and not them, or one of my friends is selling with them and not them, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. It's whoever that customer feels okay with, and just being able to communicate about that customer without having any type of negative feedback back and forth, I think is huge. And actually, my old broker that I used to work for, it was a small brokerage out in Baker County, and she's the one that actually pushed me to get my broker license. It was just me and her, and I told her I was thinking about doing it, and she basically told me nothing, was going to change when I got my broker license, and that kind of was like, oh, okay, well, yes, it will.
It just stops in time.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of want to grow. So, and she's one of my best friends still.
Well, nothing's going to change unless you change.
Yeah.
Is that what she was kind of saying?
Well, she told me when I got my broker license, I couldn't help grow the company or anything. She didn't want to grow anymore.
Oh, okay.
She was just
she's just fine with her business that she had.
Yeah, she was good, but just me and her working there. She didn't want to do anything else. So it's like, okay, so I got my license. I opened up REMI Realty, and she still calls me to this day. We have coffee from time to time just to hang out and chit chat and just talk about stuff. She does a lot in Baker County, and we just talk about the shifts in the market and everything. And she was actually a blessing. Now I thank her for being like that.
Right. Well, in our world, in the loan officer world, a guideline change may come, and we can send a mass email out.
Yeah.
Hey, they're no longer accepting this credit score. It's changed to this. Okay. Instantaneous. In the real estate market, you start to see the trends like we had. That obviously is starting to taper off now. You're not getting as many offers as we were 4 months ago on a house because of obviously market conditions. But that didn't just like, hey guys, tomorrow we're going to start getting 20 offers.
Yeah.
You start to see this gradual thing, like all of a sudden you're in, sharing with the broker friends or other top real agents in the business, like, hey man, I just listed a house and I got 20 offers. Whoa, that's interesting. Whoa, I got a listing coming up. Oh, I got a listing at 15. Yeah. And you start seeing this trend, and because you guys are talking, you're now going in prepared.
Yeah, I tell my agents all the time, and I invite them to go to all networking events that I go to. I'm like, y'all have no idea how much just talking to other agents helps you. Mm-hmm. It helps you. I have one agent, she works a full-time job, and sometimes she comes into the office because she's remote, and she said, I learned so much just hearing you on the phone talking to people than anything else.
100%.
And I'm like, that's the thing. You just have to keep talking to people, because then you learn so much.
Spinning on in the education piece, and education and being educated by other successful people in the business, because you're pulling that's part of an education piece. But that whole thing, the cornerstone of all personal development books, hanging out with other successful people.
Yep.
What do you do to stay sharp? Obviously staying abreast of what's going on in the market conditions and so forth to educate your realtors. But what do you do personally? Because my belief is the only thing holding us back is ourselves.
Exactly.
And our beliefs, our mindset is a big word that everyone's using. If you change your mindset, you can change a lot of things. What do you do? Are you a book reader, podcast listener? Do you like going to events? You just mentioned some socials, which, you're exchanging some information there.
And I like to do a lot of community stuff too. I'm a member of the chamber. I'm an ambassador for a chamber in Nassau County. And they have a lot of like business after hours. They have a lot of networking events there as well. And, I just love to go to places and meet new people. Believe it or not, I used to be a really quiet person and very introverted, and my agents will tell me otherwise. But I never would do that. I never would go out and meet new people. I was the type
So
of
you're trying to tell me you like the cocktail parties because you get a couple in you and you're good.
I'm good. I'm good after that. I am good after that. But yeah, I like peace and quiet too, because we live such busy lives. I like to go out on my property out in Baker County and just listen to the trees.
Yeah.
Just it's nice to have quiet from time to time, but definitely staying involved with the community, I feel like helps me grow personally, because then I meet new people, I make new friends. I know a lot of the business owners out there in Amelia Island now, and just walking up and down the streets, I know everybody, and I like that feeling. It's how you get your name out there. Plus you grow personally doing that.
It's you mentioned. It's very important to do what you talk. You like to go out on your property and just hear the birds chirp or the wind blow through the trees. I took an assessment that John Brooks from Momentum suggested I take, and that's one of the things I said. If I'm presented with a problem, and I have the weekend, or even a lot of times it's overnight.
Yeah.
Because sometimes things happen in your sleep. There's like all these things that go because your brain starts computing. But hey, taking some time, whether it's there's nothing. I grew up on Cape Cod and going out. We used to go out on the backside of Cape Cod and go cod fishing. You just jigged for cod. You turned off the engine. And it was silent. And some of the beautiful things is every so often maybe a whale might go by. And, you hear that often. But the silence. Or the water, just let the water lap up against the side of the boat. But your brain allows you to start to calculate or process is the word I want. Process all those things that you had, and you're like,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's good to do that. We actually had a boat, and it was called REMI Realty, REELTY. And that was my, just chill. My husband and I would go eat lunch on the boat once a week. Like in the middle of the week, so it wasn't so busy out there.
Just go down the marina.
And we would just hang out there, and we both needed it because he's busy as well. He's a contractor right now, and we just needed that time to sit, refresh, regroup, figure out what's going on in our lives. I'm a big to-do list person. Then I'm like, oh, I can do all this in 30 minutes. But before I was stressed out thinking I had to do it, and it would take me a day or two to do it.
You start putting things in perspective.
You can. It's a huge.
What's urgent, what's not. Yeah. So when you started planning, so when you went full time, you went and got your brokerage. Were you still part time when you did that?
No, so I kind of made the launch as soon as I got my broker license. It was
okay. So you went full time, but you were working with the woman you were mentioning in Baker County. So it was just you and her. You dove in full time at that point, but now you start thinking about REMI.
Well, so I actually got my broker license with no intentions on building a team at the time, because I was scared. I didn't know what I would do. I didn't know how to train anybody. But then I was like, you know what? I can do this. I didn't have great training, and I made it, and I'm successful. And the reason she recruited me was because she said my contracts were so clean. She was like, I've never met anybody that literally filled everything out, and it was such a clean contract. It was a smooth process. Right. And that's why she recruited me to come work for her. She was like, I like you. You need to come here. And so that's why I was like, okay, now my agents are going to be like that now. Yeah. So one of my very first agents was actually a cousin of mine. Him and his friend came to work for me. And every agent that I have on my team right now has been people that have come to me wanting to work at REMI. I have not actively recruited any of them.
Have you ever told someone no?
I have. I heard hurts my soul.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you
It
like to
hurts my
think the
soul.
best in everybody, but also you have a ship, and you don't want to
Yeah.
use the term out. You don't want to bring poison or a rat on the ship, right?
Yep.
You gotta protect the ship and what
absolutely.
you got.
Yeah, and and I do it in a graceful way, and if you need any help, let me know. But I just unfortunately don't think it's a good fit.
I think it's we're talking about that test that John Brooks recommended. It's very important, and I think they're getting better at those tests. I've taken them 15, 20 years ago. Some employers would throw them out there, but they realized they weren't working. But they've gotten better at I think the DISC and this Clifton test that I was taking, and breaking down and like who you need to work, what you need to be doing in a standpoint of what your strengths are. And I think Brittany Brooks actually mentioned it last week. She said, we are trained to work on our weaknesses.
Yeah.
And really that's not, you can work on your weaknesses to get better. Like, hey, I want to dribble with my left hand because I'm right-handed. I can do that really well and dribble my left hand. Yeah, you can, work on that and get better at it. But really, if you're putting yourself and surrounding yourself with those people who mesh with you and the personalities and the drive, which sounds like your team, you guys are very competitive internally and healthy wise, that you all, are driving in the same direction. The sky's the limit.
Absolutely. It really is. And we've helped each other grow tremendously. And even I have grown just based off of my agents and everything, just, them motivating me, they claim I'm a good broker, but but we do a lot together. We definitely, we like to eat together, and we just talk about random stuff in the office. It's not just us in there goofing off. It's us going over stuff, going over contracts, and meet new people, and getting our name out there.
What motivates you? If you were to narrow it down, one thing, what you're doing, like when you get out of bed this morning, besides going, hey man, I get to do this great podcast with Tracy. What motivates you though about your team? If you were to narrow it down to like one thing, like you're just excited to get up and conquer today, what is that motivation?
Well, it's really about helping others. I know how excited I was to buy a house. And I tell my agents, I'm like, even they get so excited over their closing days. It's a big deal for us. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I had 2 closings today, no big deal. But we like to celebrate those. We call it cocktails and closings.
Okay.
So
cocktails and closings. I like it.
Yeah, but it helps them grow too. They want to do more and more and more. And seeing the customer happy at the end of the day and not stressed out and having a great experience is huge for all of us. I mean, it's definitely one of the reasons we wake up every day and go out there.
Well, that's your focus on, because you have 2 customers. You also have the team that signed up under you and is looking for that value. What is it that, so you're motivated by wowing your customers and having a great experience in the cocktails and closings. What is it about your team that motivates you? What have you created there at REMI?
Well, so basically the fact that they want to do more, like they are driven agents, and that's what I like. I'm very driven. I started not doing a whole lot, and I basically said, kind of like Ryan says in his book, big money, big energy. You speak it into perspective, and that's what they do. And seeing them so happy and seeing them want to learn more and having them call me and ask me questions, like I love that. Like that motivates me for sure, and it helps me grow individually. Like if they ask me a question and I don't know, I'm like, oh, wow, that's weird. I don't know that. Let me find out.
Yeah, let's call. Well, and you surround yourself with other smart people like you do. You know who to call.
Yeah,
and hopefully knows the answer.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, their drive is what motivates me too, and just seeing them so happy and wanting them to grow. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, just follow my lead. It's worked. I'm successful for a reason. Just follow my lead. It may not work right now. You may go 3 or 4 months without a closing, but then boom, your business will pick up. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Consistency. Going back to the consistency factor. How important? And it sounds like it's just the way you're describing it, and this is why I just thought of this question. How important is it to show up?
Oh yeah.
To whether if they are doing the training by Zoom, that they are engaged. I'm not a big Zoom call training person because unfortunately I think too many just turn it on and they go and do other things. Oh, hey, I heard it, but you didn't, you weren't listening. And or if it's coming into the office, engaging with you, engaging with your other agents that are there, or like you said, how important is it to show up at a reasonable enough socials, because there's a lot of them going on.
There is, yeah, there is, and I feel, and it's important even just to show up in the office. I feel like, just because it gets you in the right mindset of how you're doing, what to do, and how to do it right, essentially. It is super important, and a lot of people think, oh, I have my preferred lender, I don't need to go to that networking event. Oh, I don't need to go here, I don't need to go there. And it's like, it's not about who's putting it on. It's about the people that you're meeting and the relationships that you're meeting.
Oh my, whoa. All right, chalk that one up. That's got to be a soundbite.
No, but
it's the people that are going to be there. Like I said, it's not the sponsors. I mean, it's great if it's one of your people who you want to, you support or already do business with, obviously.
Absolutely.
But you don't know who you're going to run into.
You don't know who you're going to run into. You don't know what you're going to learn from that. And you don't know the type of relationships you're going to have after that from that event specifically.
Well, I mean, how important? I mean, you've been in the business long enough. You've done you as a broker and a leader. How important is it sometimes to actually know the realtor on the other end? Especially, the last year and a half or so has been so competitive in the offers. To know that the offer is coming from you, or even one of your people that are following you. Like Jamie here this morning came with you. That realtor on the other end, you're like, oh, you're making an offer. Oh, yes, I know.
Yeah. It is really important, because that's how you build the relationships in the industry, for sure. Now, there's a lot of new agents out there, and so there's a lot that we don't know, but having a relationship with somebody that you've known for the last 10 years, it's going to be a smoother process.
Yes.
It definitely, even if it's somebody you met a year ago, at least you know that person, you see them at events, they're trying to grow too, so you can work together, in building it. There's a lot of
one of the things I heard recently, and makes total sense, is, I think I forget who it says. So someone who's listening, I'm sure will remember saying this, but I heard the words, and it was, when you make that offer, you've got to follow up with the selling agent. So many of these companies, new agents or ghost agents, kind of throw their offer out there, and then hopefully someone calls them back.
Yeah, so crickets after that.
Yeah. And if you're going to the social, obviously making that call to the selling agent who maybe you met at a social, okay, hey, I remember we met at this, and so I just wanted to follow up on my offer. All of a sudden the guards go down, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember seeing you face to face.
Absolutely. And, that's a big thing. And that goes back to the whole relationships that you build in the industry, because it makes not only your life easier, but your customer's life easier too, because then it's a lot smoother process.
That's why they're hiring you.
Exactly.
They're hiring you to win. They're hiring to get their offer accepted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And get in the home that they're looking for. The previous, you did a little time at a small boutique brokerage you mentioned about.
Yep.
What did you take from her?
She's the one that actually helped me build more of like a family-based brokerage, because her and I were really close. We talked a lot, and I want to say we were kind of like sisters, because we talked a lot about everything, not just real estate business.
We had the person to talk shop with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and she basically helped me with everything in Baker County. She knew everybody. She was born and raised there. She knew everything out there. So just being with her helped me make all the relationships that I've made out there.
Describe, because you've used this term several times so far today, the family.
Yeah, so we're really close.
What does that mean? Someone who's out there, maybe in the corporate world, think about, hey, I want to get into real estate, or maybe someone who's at a place that's not a family-oriented brokerage. It's like, what are they talking about? Family-oriented. What is that all about? So, what is your description?
So, basically, we love each other, we hate each other, we fight, we hug, we pray together.
Was she allowed to yell at each other?
Yes. We actually have fluffy boxing gloves in our office. If we have a misunderstanding or something, pull out the gloves, finish the conversation, and then you're all fine and dandy afterwards. The
one thing I always admired when I went to you, if you had a conflict with somebody, this is at the Citadel, there was, I don't even know if they do it anymore, but 30 years ago they did. There was a mat room for the wrestlers, right? Yeah. That's where the wrestlers practice. You could go down.
See,
and you had it out.
It helps. It helps in a healthy way.
Yes.
It helps, but we're like that. We're really close. We're very comfortable talking to each other, and I have a private Facebook page of all my agents. If I'm unavailable, which is very rare, I have to be like on a flight to be unavailable. But they can go in there and ask a question.
Everybody sees it.
Yep, everybody sees it. Somebody's responding even before I get a chance to get in there and respond to it. We're always covering for each other, especially summertime. A lot of my agents have, 3 or 4 kids that, so if they're out on vacation for 2 weeks, then we're in to fill in for them, show houses. We're just a big team, essentially.
What comes around goes around.
Exactly.
Everyone's going to have that moment where they need some coverage.
Yes.
And they don't have to go off and negotiate some sidebar deal. It's, hey, I'll get the next one. I'll cover you this one. You cover me because I'm going away here in a couple months, whatever it may be. Take my calls for me or whatever. That's what a team, a family that you expect. I think it's very,
absolutely.
And if you being the gatekeeper who comes into this family, how important it is to choose those that kind of have that same sort of attitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Towards it to help each other out, because there's we were talking a little bit out there and we were talking about the market conditions and so forth. And, I was doing loans and I remember summer of 2007, man, it was, and how many times every agent's gone through it. How many times did you want to quit?
Yeah.
Right. We all go through that, and you need those people around you to, pull you up by the bootstraps and say, let's get back on it.
It took a long time to close a deal then, too. Mm-hmm. It really did. So when I was buying my first house, when I got my license, it was during all this foreclosure and stuff. And I think it took 9 months to close my deal.
Oh, wow.
And, a lot of real estate agents won't stick around that long. Mm-hmm. They want instant money. They want 30 or less days. And, that was the market at the time.
Well, and to tip on the other end of the scale where you had that situation, then on the other side of the scale, and I've told this story obviously on the podcast before, my wife and I made an offer. It was Thanksgiving of 2008. It was on Tuesday, and the offer was accepted on Wednesday. Why? Because the agent had a relationship with the selling the bank, in that case, had a relationship and got our offer accepted before we had turkey on Thursday. Yeah. So how important is that? So I'm gonna regroup and we'll kind of wind things down here.
Okay.
Who has been the most influential person in your real estate career?
Ooh.
And it may be multiple people, but let's give them a call out.
Yeah. I don't know. There's been quite a few. So I'm a big.
There's got to be someone you resource more than. When something comes to you that how to handle the team or whatever, is there just someone, and some of I know a lot of the agents have coaches or a pseudo coach mentor, maybe not someone they're paying as a coach, but someone who they actually look up to.
Well, he's not in real estate. He's actually in lending.
Mm-hmm.
He's a friend of mine. His name is Darren. I've known him since I was in college. He actually worked with my sister at a bank years ago.
Okay.
He's kind of the one that talks me off the ledge.
Okay.
Yep. So I call him for all kinds of advice because he doesn't really know a whole lot of people in the industry other than on the lending side, because he's been in it for 20 plus years or 30 plus years. So I call him. You're
not that old. He couldn't. If he went to school with you, it could have been 30 plus years.
He was getting his master's when I was getting my bachelor's.
Okay. Okay. A couple years. All right. You're not that old.
But he's been doing it for a long, long time.
Right.
And, he doesn't know any of the agents. So when I call him in the scenario, he's like, what are you talking about? So I'll give him all the situation, and he'll basically set me in my place and tell me, hey, you're wrong, or this lender's wrong, or this agent's wrong, or, whatever. And he kind of helps me understand from a different perspective, an outside source that doesn't know anything that's going on.
Right. Someone you can call and confident, pitch silly ideas to, or whatever. But one thing for sure, for those listening out there right now, I'm going to tell you, there's no lender that does everything. And if you're talking to a loan officer who's only worked at one lender, not that there is a problem with that, but many times, and as I've learned, I started my first 8.5 years was with Quicken Loans. Well, they're just bread and butter. Mainstream volume things. These off, bank statement loans or, crazy things, or what we mentioned earlier, buying a manufactured home on 53 acres. Yeah. They don't do those loans. Yeah. And so if you've only been in that world and you don't understand that there's other lenders that do those unicorn loans off here and there, and that loan officer said, it can't be done. That may not be true. VA loans. There's a lot of lenders at 50% debt ratio. They will not go over that
Yeah.
on a VA loan. Yet here and another lender I work with, we've gotten improved almost at 70% on the debt ratio. So it's just what they have their own internal overlay. So you have to understand that where that person's coming from, which it sounds like this person's more of a, has a broader.
He doesn't. And I actually don't do a whole lot of business with him on the real estate side at all. Even though he's a lender, the company that he works for just, they don't have a lot of programs that, help my customers or anything like that. But, he definitely, like, we grew our businesses together, and we have a great relationship to where we can, the minute I have the business idea, he's the first person I call, and I'm like, hey, let's talk about this. My husband and I have been stewing on it for about a month now. What do you think from an outside perspective?
Exactly. Whether you have this person personally or you hire a coach, having a mentor is so important. Now, have you brought a brand new person on that's never sold a home before?
Oh yeah, most of my agents are actually brand new agents.
Okay.
Yep.
So what is just a couple of first things you do with them initially?
We go over contracts.
Okay.
Yeah, we go over contracts. I have like a welcome to REMI email, and it basically lists everything out. We initially start doing the social media plan and any other marketing plan in the beginning. So while those are running, we're on the back end doing the education on how to do stuff. And
what are some, obviously the contract, like, hey, you're a new agent, we need to do 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
What are A, B, and C? What are some staples that we've got to execute on this? This is what's going to get you off.
So basically the marketing is what's super, super important. We have to make sure that their marketing's intact. And then also the processes. I have a few pages of different processes. Okay, when you're submitting an offer, these are the steps that you do. When the offer is accepted, now these are the steps that you do. And I feel like that helps a lot because, a lot of times agents are working so fast that they forget steps. They forget, oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do this in how many days? So we have checklist items.
So that brings up an interesting thing because I was talking about with my loan officers too, some of the new ones. And, we want to jump, we got to get the marketing going because someone's got to call you to actually do a deal. But you're calling it and you're bringing that person to the door, but you also need to know what's behind the door when they actually go out and actually want to make an offer. Oh, what do I do now? Okay. Because you work 90% of our business is to make that phone ring. The other 10% is actually the deals. And knowing what's going to happen afterwards, how important is it to help them do the marketing piece?
So the marketing to me is the easiest piece. It's learning how to do everything and all the steps that are included with it. It's not just writing an offer and submitting it and great, the lender does everything else. They don't. You got to do the home inspection. You got to go over the inspection. You got to do the repair form.
What title company are you going to choose?
Yeah, you got to do everything and just kind of educating them on like the processes right in the beginning. And I tell them, we train for a couple hours. I'm like, you're going to forget everything. You will forget it. There's a lot of information that you have to know, but we do it in stages. So we'll do like a contract, training. Not just an e-first contract. We'll do the Florida Realtors contract as well. And, they'll write notes on the contract and figure all that out. And then we'll go through the next step. Okay, now let's talk about inspections. Let's talk about what to look for in different inspections. If it's a mobile home, if it's a beachfront property, if it's this or this, these are the items that you look for. Certain types of financing need certain types of inspections. So then we'll go through that whole process. And then the next thing, we'll just...
So back to the education piece.
Build on that.
Back to the education piece. Keep working on the education. And it's not you're spending 8 hours a day in the class.
No.
Because they won't retain most of that. But taking it in chunks, whether it's an hour a day or whatever you set aside, so that every day they're adding to their notebook every single
We do
day.
random little, it's called Real Talk with REMI chats.
Real Talk with REMI.
Somebody
else had something. I know it was Exit One Stop. They have a it's basically the real world of real estate. It's not called. They call it something else. It was a very unique name like that. They quote it where agents get together and that's their meeting and they talk about all the different contracts and all because like you mentioned earlier in their sales meeting. Everyone's different.
Everything is different.
Some may be similar, but all different.
And it helps to talk it through with other people because everybody has different ideas and can learn from it.
Right. Right. Whether they're on the buying or selling side.
Exactly.
You're learning from
Yep.
it. All right. We're going to go into our 2-minute warning questions. Number one question. I think I've asked this on every one of my 75 episodes. Is it more important who you know or what you know, and why?
Oh, okay. It is more important, you know, and my husband always says it. He always says it's more important on who you know. But if it's not what you know, then who you know doesn't matter either.
Well, if you're, I mean, if you're mind blank, I mean, we can go to that extreme.
Yeah.
I
No,
guess.
I definitely think it's all about who you know and just building the awareness of who you are and meeting people. That's definitely how you succeed.
I totally agree. The what you know, you could find out there. Not that you want to go out there totally blank. Say, hey, I want to go, open a real estate business and not even had like any experience or even talk to another realtor or anything like that. Hey, I want to go open my own brokerage, and you don't know anything about real. You don't even know the contract, right? Yeah. You're going to open a brokerage and you don't even know anything about the contract. Yeah, if you have a stack full of money because you're going to go through it, but you're going to learn those things. But to get that engine going, you got to reach out to people who've done it before, who've experienced it, and all the things that we were just talking about, the education, exchanging the stories there.
All that will come with who you know.
So to touch a little bit on it, we talked about the lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I think we were talking about the CDDs. I teach lifestyle. I don't think I ever finished that statement, but anyway. What is your favorite thing to do in Northeast Florida?
My favorite thing in Northeast Florida? Fish.
You like to fish? Do you? Are you like you like to go offshore or
no, not that far.
No, you'll just go into St. John's or the retention pond in your community.
I'm an outdoorsy person, so anything outside, whether it's riding a side by side or getting on a boat, we're definitely boat people.
Right. Interesting. Well, Dunia, I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I think it was a great show. I hope a lot of people out there got to know you, whether they're a buyer or a seller or a real estate agent who may be just looking for that family oriented, where everyone in the tight community, like I said, you only have 16 agents. Not only, I mean that's a mid-size. I would say mid-size. It's not hundreds of agents like Exit, nor it's not a small boutique with just 4 or 5 agents. 16 is a reasonable number, and the fact that you're keeping them all intact and you're very picky who's on that team, those people should feel very special.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much.